Hey everybody, just wanted to do a quick little video. This won't be too long or anything. Just wanted to talk a little bit about HMIs. This is a 1200 watt HMI, and then kind of the future or the present, I guess, or where we are now, which is we have the daylight LEDs coming out now, and more recently we have bicolor and then some even into full color LEDs that are coming out now. So just wanted to talk a little bit about kind of back where we started, or at least where I started. I haven't been in the industry for 30, 40 years or anything like that, but this was the workhorse whenever I was coming up. So a 1200 watt HMI, you can see the globe in there. And you have the head cable, of course, down to your ballast. So it's not really a power supply as much as it really is a ballast. So this is a 575 or 1200 watt ballast. This one's by LTM. I've also got some by K5600. You had the dimmer, but the dimmer never really worked super well on HMIs, so we tried to avoid that. So you might ask, how did we dim it? Well, we had these guys. So not really these, but these. So some of you might know what these are. These are wire scrims. So if you wanted to take your light level down, what you would do is you would flip this guy up and you would slot your wire scrim in there, and that would take the light down by a full stop. There was also singles, which were green, and then there's also, really quick, just while we're on the subject, there were halves as well. So you could, if you wanted to take down the left side, let's say, of if this was a backlight or something like that, in here, doing it one-handed. So if you wanted to take down the left side or the top of your beam, you could do that as well with the wire scrims. Now, what I'm doing right now is that's not really a smart thing to do, because I would have to have gloves on. These are hot lights in every sense of the word. These things get very, very toasty. In the same way, if you wanted to remove a wire scrim, you also had to be very careful about, you had to have a place kind of planned out where you're gonna put it. You could kind of put it on the ground, or you could just try to chuck it back in the box, but these things get very, very hot. And then really quick, just talking about this, if you wanted to broaden or tighten your beam, you would use these guys. So these are lenses that you would actually slot in front of the light, and this would broaden or widen your beam, if you will. And typically these lights start out as spotlights. So the PARs, they start out as very, very spotty beams. And then the lenses are what you use to expand those or broaden those beams. So those lights are all still around, but these have kind of been phased out, these 1200 HMIs, in favor of these guys. So this is the Namlex 1200D, the daylight only version. Similar setup, so you can kind of see the components, how they've evolved. So you used to have the head, your ballast, and your lens box, which controls your beams. Nowadays we have these guys. So the 1200 daylight version, we have the same, similar type head cable. We have, instead of a ballast anymore, we have power supplies. And then we have these guys. So Aperture and Godox both have their same thing as this, or same version of this, I should say. And these are, of course, the reflector cones. You can get other modifiers for these, obviously, like Fresnels and things like that, but this is typically what you're seeing with these 1200 watt LED sources. So it is kind of an interesting evolution coming from the HMI with the ballast, with the lens box, to very much the same thing. So we have the head unit, then we have the ballast or the power supply, and then we have the lens box, if you will, so the reflector cones. And it is interesting, so these LEDs natively are floodlights. So if I take this off, this is a floodlight. I don't know if it's a full 180 degrees, but it is very, very wide, as opposed to the HMI, which you had to put lenses in to widen the beam. With this, you have to put lenses or reflector cones or dishes, whatever you call them, intensifiers, in order to squeeze the beam down and spot the beam in, if you will. And so finally we moved from that to the more popular unit, I would say. This has been out for about 1.5 years or so now, which is the bicolor version. I just got this in-house the other day, and I already love it. I have not used it on a shoot yet, but it is, I do have it rented out on a shoot this Friday, so in a couple days, and then on a movie shortly thereafter. So I'm very excited to use this thing. It's very similar to the daylight version, except with the exception that it is bicolor, of course. So this one is actually a little bit stronger. I hear different reports, but you know, it's like 20 to 30% stronger, more powerful than the daylight version, which is really interesting to me. But same thing, you know, you have your ballast. I don't have the lenses in, those are coming in today, is what B&H tells me. But a similar thing, and you know, when you go into the bicolor realm, so now you're introducing a new functionality. So going back to our HMI, and even with our daylight LED, I guess, you had to gel these if you wanted different color temperatures. So we are seeing more and more evolutions with the technology. And this is really interesting because now this system is taking away the need for gels. And of course, I'm talking color correction gels, CTO, and even CTS, things like that. It's obviously not the full color version, which is the Namlux has the 900 watt version, and then Aperture has recently come out with their 1500 watt version. But just very interesting, it's an interesting conversation to have, how these units are kind of making our kit a little bit slimmer, our lives a little bit easier. The obvious benefit that the daylight LEDs have over the HMIs is, well, number one, they're not hot lights, so you're not gonna melt your hands or your gloves or whatever, or your clothes in front of them. They have 1000 step dimmers, generally speaking, and they're hot restrikeable. So you can turn these off, turn them back on. They also pull less wattage, but it's an interesting conversation. Let me know your thoughts on where the technology is going. I think it's very interesting where the technology has come so far with the advent of these new bicolor units. Obviously the 2400B and the Aperture XT 2600 as well. Those are very intriguing lights. I do want to get my hands on a 2400 to test it out, meter it, see how it compares to a 4K, which is sitting over there, right over there. I'm sure it's probably a little bit brighter even. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Just thought I'd shoot a quick video, and as always, have a great day.